Well, a new Iron Curtain has fallen in Russia, and this time it's an information Iron Curtain. That's why most Russians don't know what's really happening in Ukraine. The Kremlin today blocked Facebook and Twitter, and there are no independent media outlets left. CBS's Roxana Saberi reports from London.
No to war was the final message broadcast by TV Rain, one of Russia's last independent media outlets. The staff then walk out, leaving behind a parting shot, the ballet Swan Lake, a nod to what Soviet Russia played in times of turmoil. A similar scene played out at Russia's oldest liberal radio station, Echo of Moscow, which says it's been forced to close.
We just can say welcome to the USSR.
These acts of defiance come as Russia's parliament passed a law effectively criminalizing the spread of information opposing the Kremlin's narrative on the war against Ukraine. Simply calling it a war or an invasion instead of a special military operation can lead to up to 15 years behind bars. The Kremlin is trying to control discontent over the war. At least 8,000 protesters have been arrested. And tonight, many Russian journalists are fearing for their safety. Some have already fled the country this week. With today's legislation, others are now packing up and getting ready to go. Nora?
Roxana Saberi in London.
Berezovsky remained a vocal critic of Putin.
Putin's Russia is very dangerous for democracy.
He was found dead in his home in England in 2013. Investigators recorded an open verdict, which means they could not say if he died by suicide or was murdered.
Vladimir Putin may have called for anti-government protesters to be treated with respect, but it's unclear whether police in Moscow received the message. They were out in force to prevent what they described as an illegal gathering in the center of the capital. But the participants were prevented from even leaving the metro station as they arrived by a large number of riot police who made several arrests. The demonstration was organized by the controversial opposition writer Edvard Limonov.
Brett, good evening. The Washington Post, in a surprise move, as you noted, is making no endorsement in the presidential race for the first time in decades and will refrain in the future. The editors had turned in a Kamala Harris endorsement, but under owner Jeff Bezos, that has been killed. Post publisher Will Lewis today called this a statement in support of our readers' ability to make up their own minds. But for at least 2 years, the paper's left-leaning editorial page has been slamming Donald Trump and, more recently, praising the vice president. Former editor Marty Barron accused the Post of spinelessness. While owners are entitled to set editorial policy, Bezos does a lot of business with the federal government through his Blue Origin rocket company and Amazon. He may not want to jeopardize his already testy relationship with Trump. Post board member Robert Kagan, a security expert at the Brookings Institution, confirms to Fox that he has resigned. A similar scenario at the Los Angeles Times, a liberal newspaper where billionaire owner Patrick Soon-Shiong killed an endorsement backing Harris. Editorial chief Mariel Garza resigned in protest, saying she could not remain silent, and was followed by 2 other top editors, including a Pulitzer Prize winner. The owner says he wants the paper to be less divisive in a polarized atmosphere, though that hasn't stopped years of antitrust pieces in that same atmosphere. More than 1,700 people have canceled their subscriptions. Newspaper endorsements don't matter much these days in national elections, but if they're going to punt on the most important decision of the year, why have editorial pages at all? Brett?
Good question, Howie. Thank you.
It has been widely reported that Donald Trump admires dictators. He even wrote love letters to Kim Jung Un and fell in love. He also said that January 6th was a day of love, a love fest he called it. Hence the title, American Oligarchy. a love story. What hasn't been so widely reported is that it is an open secret among the billionaire class that Donald Trump may follow in Putin's footsteps and turn the USA into an American oligarchy. Much like Putin, Trump will demand loyalty, total support, absolutely no dissension, and most importantly, a share of the proceeds from his obedient subjects. The first thing Putin did to kill Russia's baby democracy was to kill the free press and only allow state-run media to disseminate Kremlin-approved news. Second, he demanded absolute fealty from his oligarchs. With their contributions, he became one of the world's richest men, amassing a fortune of over $10 billion. Thirdly, he began to jail, poison, assassinate, or exile all his political opponents. Fourthly, he outlawed all public protests by arresting protesters, sentencing them to 15 years in jail. All these tactics sound very much like the promises coming from candidate Trump, and the billionaire class is starting to tower. Just in the past week, 3 major U.S. publications refused to endorse a presidential candidate, upending long-standing traditions. The LA Times, the Washington Post, and most recently, the USA Today, which is owned by Gannett Media, which also owns 200 other newspapers, and they have recently said they will refrain from making presidential endorsements in any of their newspapers. They are afraid that Trump, if elected, will make good on his promises to shut down quote-unquote cricket media, the enemy of the people, or worse, arrest the owners. Conversely, they are not worried of similar retribution from not endorsing VP Kamala Harris. Therefore, their anticipatory compliance is not only blatant cowardice, but it is also undemocratic and un-American because we, as Americans, don't kowtow to dictators. Furthermore, it is unconstitutional because the fourth estate, a free press, is enshrined in the Constitution and the very First Amendment. Our founding fathers believed a free press would be a counterbalance to unchecked governmental overreach. If only they could see us now. Our Supreme Court has given former President Trump absolute immunity from his crimes that he may commit while in office. That includes directing SEAL Team 6 to kill his political opponents. That means that SCOTUS, as well as any other judge in America, can never rule against Trump ever again if they want to keep breathing. Here's a look at Trump's idol in action. This could be us if we're not careful.
Around the world, the dictator continues to be condemned for his illegal invasion of Ukraine, but he also faces unrest from within Russia, and that's adding to the pressure he's under. How do we know? Well, you only need to look at the strange things that have been happening to his opponents. Many have been dying in highly suspicious circumstances. Mysterious accidents, unexplained suicides, even plain old-fashioned murders have seriously reduced the ranks of Putin's foes.
He will get what he wants anyway. If you stand in his way, he will destroy you.
Vladimir Putin is a president under the pump, and as his grip on power becomes more tenuous, he's become panicked, and other power brokers in the country are paying the ultimate price.
There have been more than 20 mysterious deaths involving Russian businessmen since the war in Ukraine started.
Add to that at least 5 more deaths of Russian businessmen this year, all reportedly died by suicides.
Really quite unusual to have so many people apparently dying of suicide.
Is there anyone who actually believes these people are falling out of windows?
Dozens have been purged, from billionaire oligarchs through to political rivals. Seemingly no one is safe in Russia right now.
He does mete out revenge cold very often. It sends a very clear message that you have to toe the line, or else.